Each year, Big Brothers and Big Sisters has historically selected Bigs of the Year to celebrate. That's right, Bigs and Littles who represent the organization at its best. And it is my honor to showcase our 2020 matches of the year.
All right, you guys ready?
Do you all believe and realize and see the hard work that you all do, the loving work that you do? Do you realize how deeply you're changing lives?
Honestly, I don't think really worked for me. I think this was more of an exciting venture. Having Evans by my side for the last 7 years, it's been great.
And I guess if you do what you love, it's not work.
Absolutely.
I met Mr. John through this amazing program called Big Brothers Big Sisters of Rhode Island, where they match young people with what I like to call long life mentors. People that want to see you succeed, life changers, experience providers. One person in my life who influenced me the most would have to be my good friend that I refer to as Mr. John Kokorian. Mr. John is a hardworking man that I still do not know how many jobs he has. One minute he's a realtor, the next he is a manager of the business he owns, PJ's Pub, The Gentleman, and in the morning he is working for a printer maintenance company. All in all, a valuable player in my book because he is a very knowledgeable person, and if he doesn't know, he will find out for you. Many times Mr. John has also helped me since I can remember the 7th grade, where I made honor roll for the first time. I do not remember much of when I was in the 7th grade, but I do remember Mr. John being there at my honor roll assembly. Mr. John was also there when my aunt passed away, which also occurred during my 7th grade year. It was the very first time I experienced death so close. But Mr. John was there to help me pick myself back up when I felt like giving up. Together, Mr. John and I created a motive for me to keep going, to be better than the person you were yesterday. Until this day, I still follow this motto because it brings such importance.
You know, when I first started, they were stating that the program runs for a year and, you know, you could stay with it. And for the life of me, I would never understand how I would be a mentor to somebody for a year and be like, okay.
Person I can truly trust with everything and anything.
He'll text me once in a while and be like, hey, checking in, how you doing? I was like, good.
Mr. John and I attempt to hang out every other weekend on Saturdays, where we get together and find something fun to do or go and make an experience for me. If I recall, one time I helped Mr. John fix a printer machine at one of his friend's businesses. Do I remember anything from that day? Probably not, but it was a time spent with him learning a new skill.
He'd have to be out of college and working. I would invest as much money as he can for the future now. To live a little, and by the time you're 45, you can look back and say, look what I have saved up.
People that want to see you succeed, life changers, experience providers, all included into what I call a best friend.
Now you can make choices, you know. You want to open up a business, you don't want to work for somebody, you want to cut back on your hours. Because you know once you retire, you're all set.
Together, Mr. John and I created a motive for me to keep going, to be better than the person you were yesterday.
I hope I've influenced them enough to keep at it and get his grades to where they need to be. And they are, they're A's and B's. And
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you all.
I think you just develop a friendship that lasts forever. Off the college he goes.
Many things I learned from Mr. John are valuable lessons and teachings I cannot go to my mom and ask for. So his presence is very valuable to me. The most important thing Mr. John has ever taught me is that you cannot put a price on presence when someone is there for you. Mr. John's presence is represented through something he does for me on a daily basis, through a simple text, and hanging out every other weekend, or hanging out more than once a week because I needed someone to talk to. I hope to one day be as amazing as he is, if not better than Mr. John to someone in my life. Mr. John will always hold a special place in my heart, and once the program is over, I will continue to hang out with him. I will show him many thanks for what he has done for my life, a life changer.